Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. This is High Vibin' It, and we are here with a very special guest, Branson. I got Bozarth and Brandon mixed up. Brandon Bozarth. Did I say it correctly? The
You
second
got it right.
You should just call yourself Branson from now on. Just kill two
Branson.
birds with one stone.
Just combine it all. But basically, he's a facilitator of miracles. He just played the flute for us, which you can catch on our Patreon. It was awesome. And he's a transformational coach and writer. He hosts retreats and basically helps people to create inner transformation that I'm sure reflects in their outer world as well. And today we really want to focus on the topic of creating miracles in the context of relationships. So maybe what that means in our friendships, our co-workerships, our romantic partnerships, and just how we relate to the world, to each other, to ourselves, and all things relating and transformation. So thanks, Brandon, for being here.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. So I guess we could just dive in. I want to start with defining what a miracle is.
Yes.
And so a lot of people think a miracle is an exception. I like to define a miracle as the normal way of things, and to not experience a miracle as the actual exception. And what is a miracle in a practical sense? A miracle is a shift in perception. And so when I'm viewing something in a certain way that's causing suffering, I'm literally creating a reality to reinforce that belief. I'm perpetuating the thing I say I don't want by judging it, by perceiving it in a negative way. The miracle is I come to the root of my creation, which is my own perception. I shift that perception, and then that miracle is manifested externally in synchronicity, or in healing, or in coming home and having a completely different version of your partner. Like, what the heck just happened? And this happens in such profound ways when we realize that everything we experience is a reflection of ourselves. And really, our power is not to try to change what's going on out there. I always use the movie theater analogy. It's like if you were sitting in a chair and the projector screen is putting a projection of a movie on the screen, and you want to change it, you don't go over to the screen and try to change it. You're like, I can't, it's not working. You have to go to the source, which is the film strip, which is the projection of the consciousness, and what is projecting through. And that film strip, or that projector, is your own belief system.
I love that. I love what you said about how miracles should be viewed as the norm and not the exception. Just this morning, which is like another synchronicity, I had this like download because my son said something about how it's a coincidence. And of course there are no coincidences. And I said in my head, like I had this knowing that like there are synchronicities constantly. You just have to pay attention and tune into them, but they're everywhere all the time. And it's a knowing that I had, but I never really like articulated it.
Yeah.
And to have this conversation with you today where you say those almost exact words is just a synchronicity. Are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah,
so cool.
that's synchronicity right there. And a lot of people think synchronicity is only positive. Synchronicity is just the self-organizing principle of reality. It's just the thing that organizes everything. The trees, the wind, how whole ecosystems form perfectly and synergistically and support the whole as well as supporting each other. It's just the built-in, that force that we go, what's organizing all this? What's creating all the geometry? What's creating all of this? Well, what organizes that into form is synchronicity. And so you can have negative synchronicity in your life. You can go, I hate my life, I hate my life, I hate my life. Oh, look, another reason to hate my life. But the paradox is that's a form of support. You're actually being supported unconditionally by God in that moment. You're just supporting yourself in a way that you don't prefer because of unconscious belief systems. So you're not even aware of it. And that's actually, just to tie that into relationships, that's why relationships are so powerful, right? Course in Miracles says a relationship is a laboratory of the Holy Spirit. What does that mean? It's a laboratory where we can discover what is blocking or what is in the way of allowing the Holy Spirit, or your whole spirit, through you, which is unconditional love. And that's why we say you don't necessarily get into a relationship to love someone unconditionally. You get into a relationship to learn how to love someone unconditionally. And you do that by getting those parts reflected back to you that you don't love, that you often project on another person and blame and point the finger.
Oh, it's just so magical. It's just so much truth right now. But I think we can all agree relationships not only show us allow us to learn to love someone else, but it also, as you said, teaches us about us. I've learned so much about myself since being married, things I never even knew I didn't know, which is a gift, you know, and the first step is learning, and the second step is deciding if you really want that trait or that attribute, or rather something else. So I've had a lot of, we both have had a lot of learning. Kelsey, do you find that in your relationship you've learned a lot as well?
Yeah.
Not necessarily the crappy ones. Well, yes, the crappy ones
No,
too,
especially the crappy ones. The crappy, toxic, horrible twin
quote,
flame.
quote,
Those
quote.
are the ones, honestly, where you learn the fastest and the most intense way. And you get that direct mirror of all the parts that you've disowned and pushed away. You're like, fuck. It's time to love this.
Oh, we swear on the show, by the way, in case you.
Oh, that's all good.
We're
Things happen,
passionate
we
people.
swear.
But
Kelsey got me to swear so much more than I ever have sworn ever in my
to.
life. I swear so much now, and it's your fault.
So we're just blaming Kelsey. Okay.
We're just blaming. Yes,
well,
projecting.
Man, what is that? What is that reflecting?
Maybe she just gave me permission to express myself more colorfully. How about that?
Yeah. Look at that.
Shift in perception. Miracles
we'll go
happening
with that
in real time right here. So I want to get personal and ask about a recent miracle that you've experienced in any of your relationships, just so we can give an example of how this can unfold.
A recent miracle.
Doesn't have to be recent, I guess, but anything that comes to your mind.
Probably. So my partner and I moved to Sedona about 2.5 months ago. And it's interesting because usually when something's reflected from one person, it's reflected in all areas of your life. So the spark, the catalyst, was a reflection from my partner, but the reflection was really being reflected everywhere that I looked. It's just I wasn't necessarily ready to look. And that's what happens a lot, is if we're in denial or avoidance, then we'll create something so loud, which is what we're doing on a collective level right now in the world, so loud that we can't deny it anymore. And so for me, it was feeling powerless, and it was seeing where that may have been reflected in my partner, in her experience, and in just what I was looking at in the world. We both had 6 months of travel planned before COVID and all these things, and all of those plans changed, and it was a challenging time. And so I was taking the challenges that my partner was undergoing, redesigning her own whole business and this and that, and just seeing some of the challenges in the world and feeling like I was completely powerless. Like I can't be absolutely supported and free in a environment or circumstance that says I can't do things that I want to do, right? So that was being reflected to me in a lot of different areas. And really the shift was realizing what I want to do and what I need to do are often very different. And what I want is usually coming from negative ego. Not always, but a lot of times I want this. And when my want turns into a need, meaning if I don't get it, then I feel less than, worse off, not as free. Then usually I'm just being called to take back my own power from something that I think can give me something that I already have. And so that's what it was. It was like, I want to be able to go out. I want to be able to shop. I want to, I want to travel. I want to do our retreat, all the things that I wanted to do. And because I couldn't do it, my perception was lack. Oh, there's something missing. There's something wrong. And so what I realized is I created that version of reality, not to create lack, but to reflect where I was already feeling lack. And so it wasn't affecting me, it was reflecting me. And so in that reflection of going, oh, where have I been holding on to lack? Not where is it newly developing? Where am I already holding on to lack? Where am I already holding on to powerlessness, which often gets expressed as anger if it's not dealt with? That's like our first attempt to get power back. I'm going to be angry and point, and it's your fault. Now I feel like at least I'm in control, which was how it was expressing for me. I really just had to let myself love that anger, know that it's just compressed passion that combined with powerlessness, and that because I was responsible for creating all of it, when I was actually eventually able to get to that place of responsibility, then I realized that I used my power to create a situation of powerlessness. And that was the paradox. Oh, well, who's creating this? Me. Oh, well, that's actually a use of my power. And if I don't judge it, I can see it as an innocent, valid creation that I can learn from. And so in that shift of myself, so much happened, response to everything in the world, new business ideas, incredible. I mean, some of the most fulfilling and rewarding, successful experiences of my life have happened in the last 2 or 3 months. And that's now being reflected even deeper in our relationship. My partner is launching her business, totally redesigned it, getting clients, booking retreats. I mean, it's amazing. So I can't say I'm responsible for that, but I can say that because I decided to be that change that I wanted to see for myself, that I gave not just my partner, but everyone permission to match that as well. And they can come to it in their own way, or they can choose to match it by seeing someone else leading by example. So that was one really powerful miracle over the last few months that we both experienced.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love when you touched on how seeing your own innocence was part of what created the miracle. Because in my work, what I found, especially in learning how to love yourself and different parts of you that are maybe harder to like and own and claim, is that when you find the innocent intention behind the dysfunction that's happening, you can actually love that part for its innocence and for its intention. And then you create the shift in your perception of, oh, this is a beautiful part of me because look at what it's trying to do. Look at what it wants for me. Just because it doesn't know how, maybe it's not doing it in a super beneficial way, that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that's bad. It's just maybe misinformed or not that mature yet or whatever. But I love how you touched on innocence, because I really believe that like seeing the innocence in everything and everyone is what leads to that miracle shift and that perception shift in the mind.
Yes. Well, I always say that we take action for 2 reasons. Number 1, to extend love, or number 2, to call for help.
Right.
And when you realize every negative action in the world is really a call for love, and then you could see it like a child. It's like a child that runs out and goes, I hate you. They don't really hate you. They just don't know how to process their emotion. So they just try to project it outwards because they don't know how to they don't understand the source. And so innocence also reminds us and informs us of neutrality. And if we look at the scale of consciousness, you have courage, and right above courage is neutrality. So the courage to look at what is, to be with what is, to validate it. The courage to look at it then gives us the ability to neutralize it, to remind us that this has no built-in meaning, that this is just a creation, that we get to decide the meaning because based on our own free will. And the meaning we infuse determines the effects that we get back. And so it's actually in my best interest to see this as innocent, to see this as a valid creation. I might not prefer it, I might not agree with it, but if I validate it as a creation that at its core is innocent, then I'm not in resistance to it. And only when I'm not in resistance to it can it change.
Exactly. I love that. Yeah. Once you realize that it's not something to block you necessarily, unless you want it to, like that's when, like I said, the first step is knowing it. First step is realizing it. And we always observe, right? Without judgment. We want to observe it because everything's coming from a place of need, want, survival sometimes. And once you recognize that, you can start to change it. But if you don't, we have things that just get louder and louder and louder, and then you can't ignore it anymore. And then hopefully, or, you know, likely it'll get to a place where it's a lot harder to address than it would have been if you just turned inward a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I love that.
And what happens a lot in relationships is we go, I'll be happy once you change because what you're doing is really upsetting me. And so you need to change this thing. And that thing that you want them to change is something that's unhealed within you. And your want for them to change is not even close to what you need. So it's like your spirit family's like, oh, this is such a perfect relationship. This person is definitely not going to give them what they want, but that's exactly what they need. And so when you realize that, you go, oh, if I go for you, if I'm going for you in any sort of way, you need to change. Once you shift, I'll be happy. If this changed, If you didn't do this, I'd be more free, I'd be more creative, I'd have more space, I'd have more time. Whatever it is, that's actually a space between you and your knowing that you are an unlimited creator. Or another way to say that is, that's acknowledging the space between you and God, if you want to use that metaphorically, which really just means, oh, if I think I need you to be this certain way in order to allow me to be myself, then I'm saying if I don't do that, or if you don't change for some reason, I'm not going to be supported. I'm not going to be loved. And so underneath that is, I'm not supported and I'm not loved exactly as I am. And I don't have the freedom or ability to be myself as fully as I can for some reason. And that's why those relationships are your greatest healers and teachers, because they're going to bring up the part of you that isn't allowing yourself to fully embody who you really are.
Hey there, thanks for watching this video. If you'd like to watch the extended version where you get the full podcast episode in a video format, just go to patreon.com/highvibe. The link is in the description. That's where you can become a supporter of the show, listen to all the episodes via video format, and each week you get extended versions of the show, meaning you get to see the pregame behind the scenes, and also you get an extended interview with whoever we're guesting, or if it's me and Lindsay, we usually pull cards for you guys, fun stuff like that. So go check it out. There's lots of cool goodies, including a free copy of my book, a free audio hypnosis from Lindsay. She's a hypnotherapist. And yeah, we just want to give you all the goods, all the content. So head over to patreon.com/highvibe to become a Patreon.
Or if you'd rather listen to the rest of this episode, head over to highvibeinit.com where you'll see all the links to everywhere that it's getting streamed. Click your favorite one and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Thanks for listening.